The Empire and Earth's First Contact. The Galactic Empire was vast. It controlled hundreds of planets across the galaxy. Every world, every species, every race obeyed the Empire's rules. Some had tried to fight in the past, but they were crushed quickly. Their cities turned to dust. Most planets simply surrendered without a fight, knowing that it was useless to resist. The Empire had advanced technology, powerful warships, and unstoppable armies. For Xira, a young alien girl from the peaceful planet of Valyria, the Empire was a fact of life. She had never known a world without it. The Empire kept order and brought peace, or at least that's what everyone believed. Her people never questioned it. Valyria was known for its beauty, its quiet forests, and calm oceans. Xira had grown up believing the Empire's control was the only way the galaxy could stay safe. She never imagined anyone would dare defy them. One day, news came to the Empire about a small unknown planet called Earth. It was in a distant corner of the galaxy, far away from the Empire's central worlds. The Emperor sent a message to Earth, just like they had sent to every other planet. The message was simple: join the Galactic Empire or face destruction. Xira was chosen to accompany the Imperial envoy to Earth. She was excited. It was her first trip to another planet, and she expected it to be easy. Earth, like every other world, would obey the Empire. It always happened that way. No one dared say no to the Emperor's commands. As their ship entered Earth's orbit, Xira looked down at the blue and green planet below. It seemed small, fragile, just like all the other worlds she had visited in her studies. She smiled to herself, thinking, this will be over quickly. The ship landed, and the Imperial envoy stepped forward to meet the leaders of Earth. Xira stood quietly behind them, observing. The humans, dressed in their strange clothes, looked up at the Imperial officers. They didn't seem afraid, but Xira assumed that was just because they didn't understand what was about to happen. The leader of the Imperial envoy, a tall, stern man with a deep voice, spoke first. Earth, you have been contacted by the Galactic Empire. You will join us peacefully, or we will force you to submit. Your planet will become part of our great empire. Resistance is useless. There was a long silence. Xira waited, expecting the humans to bow their heads and accept their fate. But something strange happened. The leader of Earth, a gray-haired man with sharp eyes, stepped forward. He looked directly at the Imperial envoy, his face calm and steady. We will not join you, he said simply. Xira felt a shock run through her. What? She couldn't believe what she was hearing. No one had ever refused the Empire. It was impossible. She looked around, expecting someone to laugh or call it a mistake, but no one moved. The Imperial envoy frowned. You must not understand. The Empire rules the galaxy. If you do not submit, we will destroy your cities, your armies, your people. You cannot win. The human leader didn't flinch. We understand perfectly, he said. But we will not bow. We will fight. Xira's heart raced. This was madness. How could these humans think they could fight the Empire? She had never seen anyone so bold, so defiant. For the first time in her life, she felt uncertain. This planet, Earth, was different. Its people were not afraid. The envoy turned sharply, giving the humans a final warning. You have made your choice. The Empire will return, and you will regret this. As they returned to their ship, Xira couldn't stop thinking about what she had witnessed. Earth was not like the others. Something about the way those humans spoke, the way they stood tall, sent chills down her spine. For the first time, she began to wonder if maybe, just maybe, the Empire wasn't as unstoppable as she thought. Earth refuses to bow. The Imperial ship hummed as it lifted off from Earth's surface, rising into the sky. Xira sat quietly, her mind spinning. She couldn't believe what she had just witnessed. Earth had refused the Empire's command. No planet had ever done that before. This small, unimportant world had stood up to the most powerful force in the galaxy, and its leaders hadn't even flinched. As they ascended into space, Xira glanced at the commander of the Imperial envoy. His face was tight with anger. He had not expected this either. Everyone thought Earth would submit without a fight, just like every other planet the Empire had conquered. But something about these humans was different. They must be fools, the commander muttered. No one can resist the Empire. Xira didn't respond, but deep down, she wasn't so sure anymore. The way the humans had spoken, with such confidence, had made her feel uneasy. They didn't seem like fools. They seemed determined. It was as if they truly believed they could win against the Empire. But how could they? The Empire had the most advanced weapons, the biggest ships, and armies that stretched across the stars. A few hours later, they reached the Imperial fleet waiting just outside Earth's orbit. Dozens of massive warships floated in space, ready for battle. The fleet had been sent as a warning, to show Earth the power of the Empire. Now it seemed those ships would have to be used. The commander wasted no time. Prepare to send the second message, he ordered. This message would be Earth's last chance to surrender. Xira had seen it happen before. When a planet hesitated, the Empire always gave them one final opportunity to bow. If they refused again, there would be war. She didn't expect the humans to change their minds. Something told her they were serious about resisting. The message was sent. It was short and direct. Surrender now or face total destruction. Xira watched the planet below, waiting for a response. Her heart beat faster. Would they back down now, after seeing the fleet above their heads? Surely, no one could be that brave or that foolish. Minutes passed. Then the reply came. It was just 2 words. No surrender. Xira felt a chill run down her spine. The humans were truly refusing the Empire. They were going to fight. She had never seen anything like this before. Every other planet she had visited had been afraid. Afraid of the Empire's power, afraid of being destroyed. But Earth wasn't afraid. The commander's face twisted with rage. Foolish creatures, he snapped. They've sealed their fate. He turned to his officers. Prepare the fleet for attack. We will show them what happens to those who defy the Empire. Xira felt a knot in her stomach. She had always believed in the Empire's strength, but something about this situation felt different. She couldn't shake the feeling that the humans weren't going to give up easily. No matter how powerful the Empire was, they had a fire inside them, a kind of courage she had never seen before. As the Imperial fleet prepared for war, Xira stared at the blue planet below. It seemed so small, so fragile, compared to the mighty ships around it. But now she wasn't sure that size or strength was enough to win this battle. Earth had something else, something the Empire hadn't faced before. The humans weren't just defending their planet. They were defending their freedom. And as Xira sat there, watching the preparations for the coming battle, she couldn't help but wonder, could they actually win? The first battle. The Imperial fleet hovered above Earth, its warships lined up like giants in the dark sky. Xira sat in the command center of the main ship, her eyes glued to the planet below. She could feel the tension in the air. This was it. The first battle between Earth and the Galactic Empire was about to begin. All ships prepare to fire. The commander's voice boomed through the speakers. His face was cold and determined. He had no doubt the Empire would win. After all, how could a single planet, like Earth, stand against the might of the entire galactic fleet? The humans, on the other hand, didn't seem to care about the odds. From the reports coming in, Xira learned that Earth's military was mobilizing. Soldiers were preparing, and the humans had positioned their defenses. They knew what was coming, and yet they showed no signs of surrender. As the fleet moved into attack position, Xira couldn't help but feel uneasy. She had been taught that the Empire was unstoppable, that any resistance was pointless. But the humans had defied them once already. She wondered what else they had in store. Suddenly, the silence was broken by the commander's order. Begin the attack. The warships fired their first round of energy blasts, aiming for Earth's major cities and military bases. Bright beams of light shot across space, heading straight for their targets. Sira expected the cities to be destroyed in seconds, but what happened next stunned her. Earth's defenses activated. A powerful shield covered the cities, absorbing the energy blasts. Sira leaned forward, her eyes widening in surprise. The humans had technology she didn't expect. Shields strong enough to block the Empire's weapons. For a moment, the command center was silent. No one had seen this coming. The commander slammed his fist on the control panel. Impossible. How could they have technology like this? Sira didn't have an answer. She watched as the Imperial ships fired again, this time aiming for Earth's military bases. But once again, the energy blasts were blocked. Earth was not as defenseless as they had thought. Then the humans made their move. Small, fast ships launched from Earth's surface, heading straight toward the Imperial fleet. They were much smaller than the Empire's warships, but they moved with incredible speed and precision. Sira watched in awe as these tiny ships darted between the Imperial vessels, dodging their fire and launching quick, strategic attacks. "They're targeting our weak points," one of the officers shouted. On the screen, Sira could see that the human ships were hitting the Empire's fleets where it hurt the most, taking out key systems, disabling weapons, and even damaging engines. The commander was furious. "How are they doing this?" he yelled. "They're not supposed to be this advanced." Sira couldn't believe what she was seeing. The humans were outsmarting the Empire, using clever tactics instead of brute force. They couldn't match the Empire's firepower, but they were using their agility and strategy to fight back. For the first time, Sira began to wonder if the Empire might actually lose this battle. As the fight raged on, more and more Imperial ships were struggling. The human ships continued to strike with precision, slipping past the Empire's defenses and causing chaos. "They're not just fighting for survival," Sira thought. "They're fighting to win." The battle continued for hours, and while the Empire still had more ships and stronger weapons, the humans refused to give up. They fought with everything they had, using every trick, every bit of strategy they knew. Sira couldn't take her eyes off the screen. She had never seen such determination, such fearless resistance. By the end of the day, the Imperial fleet had pulled back to regroup. They hadn't expected this kind of fight. Earth had surprised them, and for the first time, the Galactic Empire had been forced to retreat, even if just for a moment. As the fleet hovered in space, licking its wounds, Sira sat in stunned silence. The humans had done the impossible. They had survived the first battle. And more than that, they had shown the Empire that Earth wasn't going to be crushed easily. For the first time, Sira wasn't sure who would win this war. Learning about humanity, Sira couldn't stop thinking about the battle. The Empire, with all its power, had been pushed back by Earth, a planet no one had even heard of until recently. It didn't make sense. How had the humans fought so effectively? What was driving them to resist with such force? She had to know more. Days after the battle, Sira found herself reading everything she could about Earth and its people. She accessed the Empire's database, pulling up records of Earth's history, culture, and achievements. The more she learned, the more fascinated she became. Humans were unlike any other species she had encountered. Unlike the peaceful races who surrendered without question, humans had a long history of fighting for their freedom. They had faced wars, invasions, and conflicts on their own planet for centuries. It seemed that struggle was a part of their identity. Instead of making them weaker, it had made them stronger. Sira scrolled through the images of Earth's wars and revolutions. She saw pictures of soldiers, rebels, and ordinary people standing up against powerful enemies, even when the odds were against them. In many cases, they had won, not because they had better weapons, but because they refused to give up. This spirit, this will to fight, was something she had never seen before. "They're different," she whispered to herself. "They don't fear the impossible." Her curiosity grew even stronger when she was given the chance to speak to a human face to face. A captured human pilot was brought aboard the ship for interrogation. Xira, eager to understand more, was allowed to sit in on the session. The human was a woman named Sarah, with short dark hair and sharp eyes that showed no fear. Even though she was a prisoner, Sarah held her head high, as if she was the one in control. Xira couldn't help but admire her courage. The commander began asking questions, trying to learn more about Earth's defenses and military plans. But Sarah remained calm, giving only vague answers. When it became clear that she wouldn't cooperate, the commander grew frustrated and left the room, leaving Xira alone with the human. Xira hesitated for a moment, then sat across from Sarah. "Why do you fight?" she asked, her voice soft but full of curiosity. "You know the Empire is stronger than you. Why don't you surrender like other planets?" Sarah studied Xira for a moment, then smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. It was a smile filled with determination. "Because freedom is worth fighting for," she said simply. "We'd rather die on our feet than live on our knees." Xira felt a chill. She had never heard anyone speak like that. On her planet, peace was the highest value. Her people avoided conflict at all costs, even if it meant losing their freedom. But these humans, they fought differently. "Do you really think you can win?" Xira asked, still trying to understand. Sarah's eyes blazed with fierce confidence. "We've fought bigger enemies before, and we've won. It's not about how big or strong the Empire is. It's about how far we're willing to go to protect what's ours." Xira sat back, her mind racing. The humans weren't just fighting for survival. They were fighting for their right to exist on their own terms. It wasn't about power or technology. It was about spirit. As Xira left the room, she couldn't stop thinking about what Sarah had said. The humans were willing to sacrifice everything for their freedom. It was something the Empire didn't understand, and it was something Xira had never questioned. Until now. For the first time, Xira wondered if the Empire's control over the galaxy was truly right. She had always believed that peace came from order, but Earth was teaching her a different lesson. Maybe, just maybe, true peace came from the freedom to choose your own path. The war gets worse. The war between Earth and the Galactic Empire had only just begun, but it was already becoming more brutal than anyone had expected. Xira watched from the command center as reports of the latest battles flooded in. The Empire had underestimated the humans, and now they were paying the price. Earth wasn't giving up. In fact, the humans were fighting harder with each passing day. The first battle had been just the beginning. Now, Earth's forces were spreading out, using guerrilla tactics to attack the Empire's fleet in ways they hadn't predicted. Every time the Empire tried to strike, the humans seemed one step ahead, using their speed and cunning to outmaneuver the larger, slower ships. The Imperial commanders were growing frustrated. They were used to crushing rebellions quickly, using overwhelming force to win. But Earth's resistance wasn't like anything they had faced before. The humans weren't just fighting with weapons. They were fighting with strategy, with heart, and with a kind of relentless determination the Empire wasn't prepared for. Xira could see the stress on the faces of the officers around her. They had believed the war would be over in days, but now it was dragging on, and the cost was rising. Every day, more ships were damaged, more resources were spent, and more soldiers were lost. The Empire was powerful, but Earth was forcing them into a long, exhausting fight. "How are they doing this?" the commander muttered, pacing back and forth. "We've crushed entire systems in less time than this. They're just one planet." But Xira knew better. She had spent hours studying human history, learning about their will to resist, their ability to fight even when the odds were against them. Earth's strength wasn't just in their technology, it was in their spirit. One of the officers spoke up. "The humans have sent out a message across the galaxy. They're calling for help from other planets, encouraging rebellion against the Empire." The commander's face darkened. Rebellion? How dare they? No one would be foolish enough to join them. But Xira wasn't so sure. She had seen how inspiring the humans were, how they stood up against the Empire without fear. If other planets heard about Earth's resistance, they might start questioning the Empire's control too. And that could make the war even worse. As the war dragged on, the battles became more desperate. The Empire's ships attacked Earth's cities with full force, trying to break their will. But the humans wouldn't back down. They fought in the streets, in the skies, and even in space. Every inch of ground was hard-won, and every victory came at a high cost. Zira watched in awe as the humans continued to resist, refusing to surrender. They weren't just fighting for themselves anymore. They were fighting for their planet, their freedom, and their future. And their bravery was spreading across the galaxy. Other planets were starting to take notice, wondering if maybe Earth was onto something. Maybe the Empire wasn't as invincible as everyone thought. The Empire had thought they could crush Earth quickly. But now, the war was spiraling out of control. What had started as a simple conquest was turning into a full-scale rebellion. And Xira, once a loyal believer in the Empire's strength, was beginning to doubt everything she had been taught. As she watched the war get worse, she realized something important. Earth wasn't just fighting for survival. They were fighting to change the galaxy. A dark secret. The war between Earth and the Galactic Empire was growing fiercer by the day. Xira, who had once believed in the Empire's power and its mission, was no longer sure. Earth's resistance had opened her eyes, and now she couldn't stop thinking about everything she had learned. But something darker was lurking beneath the surface. One day, as Xira was in the command center, she overheard a conversation between two high-ranking officers. They were speaking in hushed tones, but Xira caught enough to make her feel uneasy. "The Emperor has approved Project Nexus," one of them said. "It's the only way to crush the humans for good." Xira frowned. She had never heard of Project Nexus. Curious, she decided to investigate. Later that night, when the command center was quiet and most of the officers had retired to their quarters, Xira snuck into the restricted database. Her heart pounded as she searched for any information about this mysterious project. What she found sent a chill down her spine. Project Nexus was a secret plan created by the Empire long ago. It was designed to be used only in the most extreme cases, when a planet refused to bow, no matter what. The project involved a weapon so powerful, so dangerous, that even the Empire had hesitated to use it. It wasn't just meant to destroy cities or armies. It was meant to wipe out entire civilizations. Xira's hands trembled as she read the details. The weapon was a biological attack, one that would release a deadly virus into the atmosphere of any planet it was used on. The virus would spread rapidly, killing every living thing in its path. No one would survive. It was a weapon of total annihilation. Her heart sank. This was the Empire's plan. To destroy Earth completely, leaving nothing behind. Xira couldn't believe it. The humans were fighting for their freedom, and in response, the Empire was preparing to commit mass genocide. This wasn't the kind of peace the Empire had promised. This was evil. She leaned back in her chair, her mind racing. All her life, she had believed the Empire brought order and stability to the galaxy. But now, she saw the truth. The Empire wasn't about peace. It was about control. And when control was threatened, they were willing to do anything, even commit unspeakable acts, to maintain their power. Xira knew she had to do something. If Project Nexus was activated, Earth would be destroyed, and millions of innocent lives would be lost. The humans had fought bravely, and they didn't deserve this fate. She couldn't let it happen. But what could she do? She was just one person, a small part of a massive war machine. And yet, deep down, Xira knew she had to try. She had seen the courage of the humans, their willingness to fight for what they believed in. Now, it was her turn to stand up for what was right. Taking a deep breath, Xira made her decision. She would find a way to warn Earth about the Empire's plan. Somehow, she had to stop Project Nexus before it was too late. As she slipped out of the command center, Her heart pounded with fear and determination. The war had taken a dark turn, but Xira was no longer just a spectator. She was about to become a part of the fight, joining the humans. Xira's heart raced as she made her way through the dimly lit corridors of the Imperial ship. The weight of what she had learned hung heavy on her shoulders. She had to warn Earth about Project Nexus, and she knew that the only way to do that was to join the humans. But how could she convince them to trust her? She was an officer of the Empire, and they would see her as an enemy. As she approached the hangar bay, she took a deep breath, steeling herself for what lay ahead. The hangar was bustling with activity as Imperial pilots prepared for the next wave of attacks on Earth. Xira felt a mix of fear and determination. This was her chance. She quickly found a small shuttle that was set to launch. It was meant to take supplies to one of the ships in orbit above Earth. No one was paying attention to her. With a quick glance around, she hopped into the pilot's seat and powered up the engines. Her hands trembled as she pressed the launch button, and the shuttle shot out into space. The journey to Earth felt endless. Xira's mind raced with thoughts of the humans. Would they accept her? Would they believe her warnings about the Empire? She knew that they had every reason to distrust her, but she had to try. As she entered Earth's atmosphere, the vibrant colors of the planet filled her view. The blue oceans and green lands were breathtaking, but she didn't have time to admire the beauty. She needed to land safely and find someone who would listen to her. Xira spotted an open area near a human base and guided the shuttle down. She landed with a thud, the engines roaring to a stop. As she opened the hatch, she was met with a group of armed humans, their faces showing surprise and suspicion. "Identify yourself," a soldier shouted, aiming his weapon at her. Xira raised her hands, trying to show she meant no harm. "I'm Xira," she said quickly. "I'm from the Galactic Empire. I come with a warning." The soldiers exchanged glances, clearly uncertain about her intentions. One of them stepped forward, a tall man with a stern expression. "A warning. From the Empire. Why should we believe you?" Xira took a deep breath, her heart pounding in her chest. "Because the Empire is planning to destroy Earth. They have a weapon called Project Nexus. If you don't act fast, millions will die." The man's eyes widened. "Project Nexus. I've heard whispers about it, but I thought it was just a rumor." "It's real," Xira insisted. "I saw the files. The Empire will use it if they feel threatened. You have to prepare." The soldiers lowered their weapons slightly, still wary but willing to listen. "What do you want from us?" the tall man asked. "I want to help," Xira replied, her voice steady. "I know the Empire's tactics, their strategies. I can give you the information you need to fight back." The man regarded her carefully, and after a long moment he nodded. "All right, we'll take you to our leader. But know this, if you betray us, you won't live to see another day." Xira felt a rush of relief mixed with anxiety. This was her chance to prove herself, to show the humans that she was on their side. As they led her through the base, she took in the sights of the human camp. Soldiers training, engineers working on ships, and families supporting each other. It was a world full of life and hope, and she wanted to be a part of it. Finally, they reached a tent where a group of leaders was gathered. The tall man introduced her, and Xira took a deep breath as she prepared to share everything she knew. She was leaving her past behind and stepping into a new fight. One that felt right, one that was worth fighting for. As she stood before the humans, Xira realized that she was no longer just an observer in the war. She was now part of something much bigger, something that could change the fate of the galaxy. The final battle. The day of the final battle had arrived, and the atmosphere was electric with tension. Xira stood among the humans, her heart pounding as she prepared for the fight of their lives. The air was filled with the sounds of engines roaring and soldiers shouting, but it was the resolve in the eyes of her new allies that gave her strength. Xira had worked tirelessly over the past few weeks, sharing everything she knew about the Empire's tactics and technology. The humans had listened, absorbing her information like a sponge. They had come up with a bold plan to stop Project Nexus and thwart the Empire's final attack. Today was their chance to take back their freedom. As the sun rose over the horizon, casting a golden light on the makeshift base, Xira felt a sense of determination. She was no longer just an officer of the Empire. She was a fighter for Earth, a defender of freedom. The humans had accepted her, and now she was ready to fight alongside them. "Everyone, listen up," shouted Sarah, the human pilot who had become one of Xira's closest friends. "The Empire is launching their full force against us. We need to hold the line and stop them before they unleash Project Nexus." Cheers erupted from the crowd. Xira could see the determination in their faces. They knew the stakes, and they were ready to risk everything. She felt a surge of pride. These humans had shown her what true courage looked like. As the battle began, the sky darkened with the shadows of Imperial ships descending upon Earth. Xira and the human forces had set up defenses all around the base, but they knew the Empire would not hesitate to attack with overwhelming force. She took her position in one of the control rooms, ready to coordinate their defenses. "Here they come," one of the soldiers shouted, pointing to the sky. Massive Imperial ships moved in formation, their weapons primed and ready to fire. Xira's heart raced as she monitored the incoming signals. This was it. "Deploy the fighters," Sarah yelled, and small ships soared into the sky, zipping around the larger Imperial vessels. Xira watched as the humans used their speed and agility to their advantage, darting in and out of the Empire's line of fire. But the Empire was prepared, and soon the battle turned chaotic. Energy blasts lit up the sky, and explosions rocked the ground. Xira felt the ground shake beneath her as she fought to maintain control. "Sarah, we need your intel," Sarah called over the comms. "What's the Empire's next move?" Xira quickly scanned the screens, her mind racing. "They're trying to flank us. We need to reinforce the Eastern Front now." With quick orders, the humans moved to counter the Empire's strategy. Xira felt a rush of adrenaline as she directed the forces, her training kicking in. She was no longer just a passive observer. She was part of the action, and she felt alive. Hours passed, and the battle raged on. The humans fought fiercely, but the Empire's numbers were overwhelming. Xira knew they needed to take out the command ship to turn the tide. "Sarah, if we can get a small team on board their command ship, we can shut down Project Nexus," she shouted. "Let's do it," Sarah replied, her voice full of determination. Xira and a small team of brave humans launched into the sky, heading straight for the heart of the Imperial fleet. They dodged blasts and evaded enemy ships as they made their way to the command ship. As they boarded, Xira felt a mix of fear and excitement. This was the moment they had been fighting for. Together, they fought their way through the corridors, reaching the control room where Project Nexus was being prepared. With seconds to spare, Xira hacked into the system, her heart racing. "I can disable the weapon, but I need backup." Just as the countdown began, Sarah and the team held off the remaining guards, giving Xira the chance she needed. "Hurry," Sarah shouted, and Xira worked as quickly as she could. With a final keystroke, she disabled Project Nexus, and a wave of relief washed over her. The weapon was no longer a threat. "Now, let's get out of here," Sarah yelled, and they rushed back to the ship as explosions rocked the command center. As they fled, the Imperial ships above began to falter. Without Project Nexus, the humans seized the opportunity, fighting back with everything they had. The battle was far from over, but Xira felt a spark of hope. They had struck a blow against the Empire that would be remembered. Earth was fighting for its freedom, and together, they might just win. Victory and a new future. The sounds of battle faded, replaced by a heavy silence. Xira stood on the deck of the ship, watching as the last of the Imperial forces retreated into the vastness of space. Earth had held its ground. They had done the impossible. They had fought back against the Galactic Empire and won. Around her, the humans erupted in cheers. Soldiers hugged one another, pilots high-fived, and laughter filled the air. It was a moment of pure joy, a feeling that they had not experienced in a long time. After weeks of fear and uncertainty, they had achieved victory. Zira felt a wave of emotion wash over her. She had never imagined she would be part of something this powerful. Just days before, she had been an officer of the Empire, ready to follow orders. Now she was standing with those she had once seen as enemies, celebrating their hard-fought freedom. Sarah called, running over to her with a wide smile. "We did it. We really did it." Zira smiled back, feeling a warmth in her chest. "Yes, we did. But it's not over yet. We still need to rebuild and protect what we have." "Absolutely," Sarah agreed, her expression turning serious. "But right now, we need to celebrate our victory. We fought for so long, and today we finally won." As the humans celebrated, Sarah took a moment to reflect on everything that had happened. She thought about her journey from the Empire to Earth, the lessons she had learned about courage, freedom, and what it meant to truly fight for a cause. The humans had shown her the power of unity and determination, and she felt proud to stand with them. That evening, a gathering was held at the base. People from all over Earth came to celebrate together. A large banner hung overhead, reading "Victory for Earth." Zira stood with Sarah and other leaders, looking out at the crowd. They were all together, united in their victory. The head of the Human Council stepped up to a platform. "Today marks a new beginning for Earth. We have fought against tyranny and emerged victorious. But we must remember, this victory is just the first step. We have the chance to create a better future, one where every voice is heard, and every life matters." The crowd cheered, their spirits lifted by the words of hope. Zira felt a sense of belonging she had never known before. She knew this was where she was meant to be, fighting for a cause that mattered. As night fell, fireworks lit up the sky, painting it with vibrant colors. The humans laughed and danced, celebrating their hard-won freedom. Zira joined in, feeling the joy and excitement around her. For the first time in a long time, she felt truly alive. After the celebrations, Zira found a quiet spot to reflect on what had happened. She looked up at the stars, thinking about the future. The battle was won, but the fight for peace was just beginning. She had learned that freedom came with responsibility, and she was ready to embrace it. The following weeks were filled with planning and rebuilding. Zira worked alongside the humans, sharing her knowledge and helping them prepare for whatever challenges lay ahead. The Empire might have retreated, but they would not give up easily. Earth would need to be strong and united. As Zira looked at the people around her, she felt hope. They were no longer just individuals fighting for their own survival. They were a community working together for a common goal. Earth was not just a planet. It was a home, and she was proud to call it hers. In that moment, Zira knew she had found her place. She was ready to help build a new future for Earth, one filled with peace, freedom, and endless possibilities. Together, they would rise stronger than ever before, ready to face whatever came next.